Testing. 1, 2, 3. Get out of here. As if my teenage daughter and I watched Clueless, her for the first time. I don't know. There's joys and then there's hardships when you're raising a teenager. She'll come to me with, the things that, we, us girls, deal with when we were in high school. And it's hard being the mother now, but you have so much wisdom to give. But then you get emotionally angry as well if they treat your daughter like shit. You just get that mama bear thing. It's just, the bonding is so important with a teenage daughter. They need that, or they will find it elsewhere, and that's what you don't want to happen. Okay, that's not the purpose of this video. It's actually similar. Making friends as a teenager in high school is really hard, but not as hard as making friends as a 30-something-year-old approaching 40 adult. That's a whole nother issue. So that's what this video is going to be about. How to make and keep friends when you're well into your adulthood. Now, adulthood could be 30s. I don't say 20s count. I'm sorry. I remember when I was 20 and it was a piece of cake and it was fun and we didn't give a shit. Usually, we don't give a shit if we don't have friends. You either love us or you hate us. It's all about girl power. And I had that going, thriving. But you know what? When you get to your 30s, especially when you're approaching after your mid-30s, it's just, you do care. You don't care as much, but you do care if you don't have friends. And with that, you get to a point where you value it that much more because you realize how rare and wonderful it is to have a true friend when you're into your adulthood. I can count on one hand how many friends I have in my life right now. One, I'm fortunate enough to have not been disowned by, since I've met her and known her since we were 12 in middle school. I was such a bad teenager with an identity issue, and I lived in a traumatic home. I had well enough issues to justify my shitty behavior, but it's still not justified to me. I was a shitty person when I was a teenager. And though through all that, she still came back to me and loves me and is there for me. That's rare. So if you have that, just know that that is rare. If you have that into your adulthood, something that goes that far back, it's something to cherish. But the majority of my friends, pretty much every other friend other than that, is not that far back. But yet still equally as wonderful to have, because when you're an adult, 30s plus, keeping a friend, having a friend, there's really some key factors here. And the first thing is be flexible. Now, when you're younger, 20s, even teens, friendship is all about, hey, you've not called me in a while. You're ghosting me. You're not being present in my life. You act like you really don't want to be my friend because you're not here. You're not calling me every day. You're not doing this. When you're in my age, you don't care. You respect each other. You realize that we both have adult lives and we're not going to be there 24/7 for each other. I have another friend. It's that kind of relationship. We'll go months without talking. But when we do, we pick up right where we left off. It's a piece of cake. Because we're at a point in our lives where we know we are very busy. And if we're too busy to talk or text every freaking day or week, we understand each other. We don't take it personal. We respect our lives, each other's schedules. That is the most important thing, is that you understand that when you're in your adulthood. You're busy. I'm freaking busy. She's busy. We're all busy. And what's important is the time we have together when we do talk, which is my second thing. Treat each other with the utmost of value and respect. And that's the way we should be anyway with our friends. But it's so important with friends that we might go days, weeks, months without talking. Because when you do get back into talking, it's usually because you need them. It's like, okay, you hit a rough patch and you need that friend to talk to, or you're lonely, or something sparks that desire to reach out. So because you know that's typically the reason, and even though it's been a while maybe, or days, regardless, you know the fact that you're connecting, that you really care about this person, and you're not going to make it awkward. You're not going to delay getting back to the rhythm. You immediately respect and honor and value the time that you have with your friends. It's not something that's, take it or leave it, whatever. We can sense that if we're just, a guilt trip of, she's just reaching out because it's been a while. Or she just calls me when she needs something and it's using each other. No, we need to respect each other. It is so, so important because, yeah, we're humans. A lot of times we are very selfish creatures. And unless something is brought to our forefront of our mind, it's really not going to be the most important thing in our life. For me, I have kids, I have a husband, I work several jobs. I'm very, very busy in my life. I forget to text my husband once a day when I get to work. Hey, honey, I'm at work. He loves that kind of shit, but it is so hard for me to do that. So factor in a friendship, that kind of commitment? Nah, it ain't going to happen. And that does not mean it's because I don't value and love them. And I make sure to show that when I do talk to them. And yes, I try not to make it I'm just talking to you because I want something, because that doesn't feel good either. But at the same time, we're human, and that's just typically where it is. And I want to be respected and have someone understand that as well if I do that to them, and vice versa. And that's really a big thing, is maturity. Now, you can be an adult and still be immature. So these things are really important to note and do, even if we don't already do that naturally. And it's really a phrase that I've heard all throughout my career: give grace. Let's give each other grace. Honestly, it's very important. And I like the phrase because we all need it, especially adults. The third thing is, don't be a dumpster. Don't allow yourself to be a dumpster. And don't dump on others either. So when you do connect, when you do have those moments of a reunion, try not to be so negative. Usually, yes, when we want to talk to someone and confide in them, it's something similar to being a negative thing, but resist as much as possible to be that negative Debbie Downer, because it's draining. And I want to respect my friend's energy and feelings and not do that to her either. There are so many things to be thankful for and happy about and talk about that happen in our lives. Yes, sprinkle in the stuff that you want to get off your chest, but also don't dump it all on them and expect them to hold that kind of intensity on them as well that you're holding yourself, because that's not nice to do to them either. And again, the first two things, we want to love and respect them and value our time together. The fourth thing is probably the one I'm the most good at, and it took me a while, is be a good listener. Your friends, they want to be able to talk, get stuff off their chest. And the big part of that is letting them be able to do that. So being a good listener is so important. When you're a kid, you're like, who can get in the first word? Oh, I have something I can relate with too. Oh, you're going to that? Well, I did that. We always want to have the next thing that we can relate. And a part of that is awfully annoying. Have you ever noticed when you're telling a story, and the person always comes back with, oh, I had that happen too, or I had that, oh, wait till you hear my story. It's not taken well by several people. It's like what I would tell my husband, because he does it a lot. I'm like, quit comparing dick size, okay? We're not whipping it out trying to compete. I just want to be listened to. I just want to tell you what I'm experiencing, not try to have you one-up me on this topic. And a lot of people do that, and it's so annoying. Like, we don't want someone to be able to relate with us. Sometimes we just want someone to listen to us. That is so important, and that should be number one, but it's number 4. But look at it as it's number 1 because it's that important and valuable to your friends and even for yourself. You want to listen to them, and you would want them to listen to you, and not always want to compare dick size. It's like, come on. The 5th thing is it's not about the time you commit with each other. That does not measure what your friendship is worth. A lot of people measure it based on that. Oh, you don't make time for me. And that goes back to my first thing. You need to be flexible and definitely not make that a deal breaker in your friendship. Yes, try to make time for each other, but also don't pressure yourself to go out of your way to do that. Because we live in a world where we can virtually and digitally reach out. It's amazing. Like the friend I told you I've had since I was 12, we communicate daily, digitally. And we love that. Social media is the most best invention for friendships like ours because we are both very busy and we don't have time to fly to each other's homes. And we don't let that pressure us either. We value and utilize the inventions that are all around us that we could take advantage of. So making the time to physically carve out for girls' night and all that stuff, though it is important to some extent, it's not a deal breaker in a friendship. Digital communication, some of us have amazing internet friends we've never met in our lives that we would say we're very close with. So that's a given that physical time carved out with each other isn't really all that important in today's day and age, especially with millennials and other people in our generation where we were born with the booming technology and are pretty much experts at our age. And the last thing is be honest. Seriously, honesty goes a long way. You don't have to tell each other everything, but being honest is so important. I have another friend who we're just really raw and honest with each other. And we could say some pretty harsh things back and forth, but we take a break and we come back right where we left off because it's like family. Do you think back on all the shit that you say to your family member, let alone like a brother or sister, and all the fights that we would get into and whatnot? We would say some pretty horrible, mean things, but yet we're family. Now, granted, that is kind of dying off, and sensitivity is a huge thing in today's culture, and being overly sensitive and overly offended by everything. And yes, that is definitely a dying off trait, but it's so important to be honest and resilient with honesty that is given to us and not take offense. Remember, we can be pretty nasty human beings. None of us are perfect. We can all say and do pretty mean things. If we don't do it physically or verbally, we're thinking it and you know it. So be humble and be honest with your friends. Don't waste each other's time. There are so many shallow friendships, and unfortunately, that's the majority of our friendships. We're shallow and we're fake, but yet we like the fact that we have a bunch of friends. So to close this out, getting up to our adulthood and our lives, it is so common to have a few number of friends, and that's okay. Being up in our adulthood, let's just accept the fact that maybe the 3 friends that we have that are true friends is good enough. And we value that and we honor that and respect that because we're making each friendship to be incredibly valuable. And you know more than I that one good friend is worth 10 fake ones. Thank you for watching, my friends. Come back, subscribe, like, share, and I will see you in the next video.